We're up live on YouTube.
Okay, we're up live on YouTube. And now let me get record going. Okay, Cliff, it's all yours.
All right, I have 7:02. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Rochester Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Madam Secretary, would you take the roll?
Chair Mallory,
Present.
Mr. Saris,
Present.
Mr. Fisher is not here, Mr. Behringer.
Present.
Thank you. I have confirmed with the town's council that tonight's meeting has been convened in accordance with the governor's March 13th, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which suspends certain provisions of the open meetings law to allow a municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In addition, with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view tonight's meeting via YouTube, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The secretary has completed a roll call of the board members, and there is a quorum present for this meeting. I've also confirmed with the secretary that this meeting has been fully noticed. We fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice on the town clerk bulletin board, an outside door, posting legal notice in the Shawmut Journal, and posting notice on the town's website. Okay, this evening we have the continuing application and public hearing of Glenn and Margaret Jackson. Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, are you, you're here?
Yes.
Yeah, we're here.
Great, okay. And this is the public hearing. And at this time, why don't you state your case? I believe that your application has been modified to some degree to request a variance of 2 feet from 4 feet to, which is the zoning law, to 6 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And to be 6 feet above the height of the road,
6 feet from the ground.
from the height of the road.
Okay. How high will that be from the ground?
Well, the thing is that what we'd like to do is put vegetation and perhaps a berm underneath the fence, but the fence would actually start at the height of the road and go up from there.
Okay. So if you measured the fence at its highest point to the ground, how high would it be?
6 feet.
It would be 6 feet from the start of the fence. And in other words, we would put a berm or vegetation underneath the fence to bring it up to the height of the road.
What he's trying to say, I believe, Cliff, what you're trying to say is how high would the fence be before you put the berm down?
I'm sorry, I missed you. The internet went out.
How from the top of your fence to the ground before you put the berm in, how much would it be?
Yeah, without a berm, the ground level is 2 feet below the road. So we would need to raise the ground level or put something in underneath the fence, but we don't want to put fencing under there. We want to just raise the bottom up to the level of the road.
Okay. So I noted that we've received 3 documents in the form of letters. Actually, it looks like one is unsigned, dated October 12th. Okay, that's the one that that modifies your request. Then there are 2, one hand dated October 8th and another dated October 2nd, it looks like. One signed by Michael Fink. And I can't read, it says something Law Holdings below that. It's.
Were there only
Wild
2, Brianna, or were there more?
lands.
Yeah, he has the property across the street, Michael Fink.
Okay.
I think there was 2 or 3. I have to, because they were all the same. They just signed their names at the, hang on.
Right, but
Yeah.
I thought, for some reason in my head, it was more than 2 people that presented letters.
It
But
was. It was.
There were more than two, right?
Yeah, hang on and I can tell you exactly.
If you can pull them up and we can get all their names on the record. But yeah, it was all one letter that,
There was Wild Land Holdings, there was Banta, there was Stone Ridge Equities, so 3,
Okay.
and Connolly was the 4th.
He's both.
Connolly, Wild Lands, Banta, and Stone Ridge Equities.
Okay.
and all the same content of the letter, just signed
Essentially, it
separately.
was the same statements, yes.
Okay. So for the record, could you tell us where, because the letters don't state, you said Mr. Fink lives across the road?
Yes. No,
Okay.
he doesn't live across the road. He just owns the property.
Right, okay. And so the other 3 letters are signed, where do those individuals, what properties do they own?
Connolly,
Connolly is
To the north?
to the north of us.
Stone Ridge is to the south,
Okay.
and Banta is to the south.
Okay, and those properties are, at least 2 of them, the one to the north, the first to the south, are abutting your property?
Or what?
Do the 4 properties, the Fink is obviously across the road, the other 3 properties, do they abut your property?
1, 2, 2 of them do. 2 of the
Okay.
others do, yes.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, all right, is there anything further you wish to add?
We hope that you'll vote in our favor.
Okay. All right, you-
Yeah.
you're-
If you have any objections, I'd be happy to know what they are.
Sure. Okay. Do any of the members have any questions of the applicants? Mr.
None
Cyrus?
at this time. None at this time, thank you.
Mr. Barringer?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. All right, so this is also a public hearing, so at this time, I would like to call the public meeting, the public hearing to take place now, and if there are members of the public, if you would identify yourself to the host.
Yeah, Cliff, we have one member on the phone, so let's find out if they're here to speak or just listening.
Okay,
The 917-589-2154. You'll need to unmute yourself. I believe it's *6 on your phone.
I just did.
There you go.
I just did.
Oh,
Hello?
is that your phone?
Yep.
I
Okay.
think it's Maryland.
So I guess the answer, Cliff, is there are no members of the public to speak because that's Mrs. Jackson's phone line.
No,
Okay.
that's not my
No.
number.
Oh,
It is
okay.
not.
Someone else speaking, Mike.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My apologies. Okay, Cliff, the phone line is open.
Okay, to cut to the chase, I have no objections.
oh, if you would be so kind as to identify yourself.
Marilyn Tetlow,
All right, and Ms. Tedlow, do you own a property in the vicinity of
Yes.
the applicants?
yes.
And where is that property?
54 Scenic Road.
Okay. So the applicant is, I believe, at 98 Scenic Road? 108. All right.
Granite, 108
Granite Road.
Granite.
They're at Granite Road.
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay. Granite Road. Right. Okay. All right. And so is that all you have to add?
That's all I have to add. This is not something that, their property does not really border on ours. I say if they want to do this fence, all the more power to them.
Okay. Are there any questions of the board, of this public member?
No.
Nothing for me,
You're-
Cliff.
No.
Okay. All right. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
Cliff, there are no more people on the call.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion, we close it.
All right,
Second it.
motion made by Mr. Barringer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Saris. All right, roll call vote then. I vote in favor of closing the public hearing. Mr. Saris?
Aye.
Mr. Barringer?
Aye.
All right, then the public hearing is closed. Before we deliberate, is there anything in addition you care to offer us, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson?
No, except that woman you spoke to is behind our property.
Across the rail
woman
trail.
called. She's across the rail trail from our property.
Okay,
So it does sort of connect to, yeah. Yeah.
Can I?
I think to say unless you have a specific thing that we could answer, about our project, and I'd like to know if there's any objection to our proceeding that we could answer or that we could respond to.
Before you, as a board, discuss the application, I just want to make sure you get on the record that this is a type 2 seeker action, so you don't have to do anything further for
okay.
seeker.
All right, that's duly noted.
I don't know what that-
Thank you.
For them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any questions from any members of the board?
Nothing from me, Cliff.
Mr. Barringer? Have any of the other members gone by the property in question?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, any observations?
Well, I was a bit disappointed to see that construction already began before getting the zoning variance, certainly.
Well, I think Mr. Jackson mentioned that last time that they
I
put the
must
posts
have
in
missed
place.
that.
Yeah.
And then just, we've been through fences a few times, and that as I recall, the measurement for the height of the fence is from the ground where the fence is placed, not from the height of the road. We've been through that with the code enforcement officer as well. And while that's not in the record for this hearing, certainly, it is something that I do recall from past hearings.
All right. I think we can take administrative notice that in a prior application, we did request from the code enforcement officer a ruling as to how he measured the height of the fence, and he did in fact say that he measured it from the ground.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Barringer, have you driven by the property?
Yes, I have.
And do you have any observations?
Other than being on a straightaway and from past experience with other fences, it doesn't alleviate noise volumes much. That's pretty much what I got on the take of it. It's on a straightaway.
Right. All right. Well, I drove by it before the last meeting and then again today. And it's, I looked for other fences and I drove down as far as the old granite. And there's a pipe fence that's probably about 3 feet high on the opposite side of the road down a little ways. There are a couple of old chain link fences that are about 4 feet high that are kind of buried in the underbrush. There are 2 other fences that appear to be about 6 feet tall that are down by Main Street. One is at the corner of Granite and Scenic Way, and the other is down a little closer to Main Street. And it's another application that we dealt with a couple of years ago. A house that is at a curve in the road by Main Street. So, but frankly, I didn't see many fences at all on the road.
The only one that I saw that was close to the house was another house that was on a corner lot as well, right? So that it was the side yard that they were protecting next to the house, set back at the same line as the house.
Is that the one on Scenic, at the corner of Scenic?
It was I believe it was a brick house.
Uh,
The one on Scenic was at a corner lot as well. So I only observed ones at corner lots as well,
Okay.
Cliff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything further?
No.
Okay. Does anyone have a motion that they wish to make at this point? Or shall we
do.
table the matter?
I do have a motion, Cliff, and Brianna will email that to you and to Bill, well, to everyone.
How about to me? Thank you.
Wouldn't forget you.
Thank you.
How am I
If
gonna
you just give me a heads up when you guys have it, I can start going through it.
Ooh,
Okay, well, this is gonna be a little tricky.
it is.
Oh, damn.
Gotta have.
Bruce, if it would be easier, I could
I've
give
got
you.
it.
Okay, I could give you screen share ability if you wanted to put it up on the screen. So there is that
Uh-huh.
option as well.
Definitely not gonna be able to do it.
Well, then, yeah, so Mike, you can share that and I can grab it.
Not because they were as attachments.
Yeah, I'm afraid if I try to find it, I'm gonna
Okay.
cut myself off.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, why don't you give me control and I'll,
Yeah, you should be able to screen share now. If you click down on the bottom, share screen, and then you should be able to open that up, that page. There you go.
whoop. Well, now I don't see it. All right.
You should see it.
I do now. All right. So the applicants are Glenn and Margaret Jackson, the applicant owner, and the reason for the request is the application proposes erecting a wooden privacy fence parallel to the road, approximately 200 feet long and 9 feet high within the front yard setback. The application was revised by the applicants on October 13th to be a fence 6 feet high above road height. So per their letter. I'll kind of skip through the template with the location and the SBL number and the documents that were submitted for review. And of course, Brianna fills in the items in yellow with the official dates that things were posted. So then below the line, the first question is whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the area variance. The motion says yes. The finding is granting a variance for a 6-foot fence would change the character of the neighborhood. A site bypass showed no fences in a front yard setback exceeding 4-foot height within proximity to either side of the applicant's property. The variance being sought is not a suitable remedy for the condition that is shared by the neighborhood as a whole. The second item is whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. And again, the checkbox is yes. There are alternatives available for privacy screening that could provide the same benefit, the example being plant materials. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Again, the finding is yes. The application proposes a highly substantial variance of 50%. And given the condition that it's above road height, it would be increased above the 50% as well. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environment conditions in their neighborhood or district, and the finding is no. There's neither a positive nor a negative impact on the physical environment by erecting the fence. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the area variance. Again, the finding is yes. The difficulty is not unique to the applicant's property and is shared by other properties in the district. No unnecessary hardship would result from adherence to the ordinance. The determination is hereby determined by the Town of Rochester Zoning Board. The request for the area variance is denied.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so the motion has been seconded. Discussion.
No.
All right, any members of the board have anything they wish to add or comment on?
The amendments to the motion.
I'm sorry?
if there are any amendments to the motion is what you're asking.
Well, that also. Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion pending. It's been seconded. Let's do a roll call vote with respect to whether or not the motion carries. Madam Secretary.
Chair Mallory,
I vote aye.
Mr. Sars,
Aye.
Mr. Behringer.
Aye.
All right. The motion carries. The request for a variance is denied. If we could get this off the screen for a minute.
Yep.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, you are certainly, the zoning law permits a fence of up to 4 feet in height. The purpose of the Zoning Board of Appeals is to consider requests for variances to that particular zoning law. We consider a number of factors which we have discussed at the last meeting and which are encompassed in the motion that Mr. Saris just made. Two factors that are important within the guidelines that we're expected to follow are: one, the request is substantial, it's a 50% request, and two, there are other alternatives to exceeding the zoning requirements. All that said, we consider applications all the time, and we can grant them, but there really needs to be a reason. And as I drove by the property, I just frankly didn't see a reason to exceed the law. I mean, I think a 4-foot fence would serve your purposes. I think a 6-foot fence frankly looks out of character for the section, which was a several mile section of Granite Road that I drove along. And frankly, I don't see the need for the variance. If you could, and again, I don't see that it's going to impact any kind of light disturbance or noise disturbance. I don't think it's going to make much difference. You're on a straightaway. So, I mean, that's my take on your application. The motion has been made. It's been seconded and carried. So you're certainly welcome to put up a 4-foot fence in accordance with the zoning law, but the request for 6-foot fence has been denied.
Okay.
I would
Thank
like
you,
to
though.
just ask you one question.
Sure.
That's about a wooden fence. And I'm wondering, does a fabric also qualify as a fence? If we were to put up a fabric, is that a fence?
That you would have to check with we don't get to make that determination. You'd have to talk to the building inspector. You'd have to go back
Who
to
would we talk
Jerry.
to?
Back to Jerry.
Who's that?
Jerry.
Jerry Davis, the code enforcement officer.
Oh, okay, so
He makes those initial determinations.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Jerry Davis.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm,
Okay.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
thank you.
Wow.
All right. Are there other matters pending? I think the only other matter I remember from the agenda was consideration of minutes.
Right, we won't have a consensus for that,
That's right.
right? So
That's
there
right.
was, the other item I had drafted a process step for the zoning process to help
The town of
applicants,
Rochester thanks you for your input.
I'm sorry, to help applicants understand the steps that we go through in the process that the zoning is. We're going to have the same issue, Mike. Perhaps you can pass me control again so we can just step through that so I can get your feedback on it and see if this is something that we want to include in the package when people apply for area or use variances. So,
You should still have ability to control. I just turned off your screen share, so
all right, let me,
back again.
That's the one you sent me, right, Bruce?
there you go. Yep,
Yeah, okay.
with a couple minor changes on it.
No.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to have to shrink this down a little bit so we can see it.
Now I gotta get my binoculars out.
Yeah, right?
I can't see
We'll get the ideal size, I'm sure.
it.
So just briefly, the boxes in green are the steps that the applicant takes. The boxes in blue are the steps that either the ZBA or the code enforcement officer takes. So in this situation, the applicant applies for a permit. The code enforcement officer would deny that permit. The applicant is advised a variance is required from the Board of Appeals. At this point, we would strongly encourage them to have the optional pre-application meeting with us in order to review that. And then coming out of that pre-application meeting, they would do one of three things. They'll revise the application and go back, come through. They proceed with the application without a revision, or they withdraw it. And we've seen people do all three of these steps, right? The applicant would submit the completed variance application and fees 14 days in advance of the meeting, right, Bill? At least 14 days.
Yeah,
Hearing for that. And then just meetings are held the third Thursday of the month. The completed applications are placed on the agenda for us. The applicant presents the application to the board. The board asks clarifying questions or for additional detail or documentation. Mary Lou, as you so aptly noted this evening, that the ZBA decides the seeker type. Type 1, we determine the lead agency. We make a declaration. If it's a positive deck, the applicant has to prepare the DEIS and that we review it. If it's a neg deck or type 2 and unlisted, we just come back. We have to hold at least one public hearing. And then we make our determination to either deny or grant. And of course, we have the 62 days to make that determination.
Bruce,
So
it's Mike Baden. If you can scroll back down 1 second, it should be the type 1 or unlisted action requires a negative declaration. So
Oh, I got them backwards. Sorry.
it should be type 1 or unlisted. The type 2 requires nothing.
Right.
Well, thank you.
Other than that,
And I have one thing to add as well. If you
Okay.
scroll up to the top, although we generally get variance applications sent to us from the code enforcement officer, they can also be sent by the planning board.
Okay. I'll amend it. I'm just gonna make a note. I'll change it. I don't want to start changing it now. You'll see how bad a typist I really am.
and Bruce, the green box there, the second green box, that probably should be blue because the applicant is advised the variance is required from code enforcement.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good with your colors.
Yeah, I can stay inside the lines pretty well.
But I do want to say very nice job on this.
Well, thank you, Mike. So I guess, do we,
yeah, I make
is
a
this
note.
something that we think would be beneficial for applicants is really what I'm coming to.
Yeah,
Mary Lou, do you need some more time to study this, or are you okay with it?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay.
All right.
Yep, just add in that or is sent by planning board.
Yep.
He has his little note in there, but
Bruce,
yeah.
the planning board probably should go at the second blue because the planning board during their review would advise the applicant they needed the variance. So
Okay.
the applicant would either be advised from the code enforcement officer. or
Right,
from the
I'd put it
planning
right
board.
in there or referred by the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay. So either the code enforcement officer denies it or they're referred by the planning
Or
board?
planning board,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. Easy enough.
Okay.
for
All
you.
right, so why don't we make whatever revisions are necessary? If anyone else has anything they wish to add, and we can consider this at the next meeting.
Yeah, and that gives Charlie a chance to look at it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. I'll make the revisions. I'll send them to you in email so you can have it. And we're allowed to discuss this kind of thing.
Well, Actually, that's still board business. Why don't you send it to Brianna
Okay,
to
fair
send
enough.
out?
Yep, will do.
Need a motion on this where we gotta see it next month?
No, I don't think you need a motion for it.
No, but Brianna can put it on the agenda if she wants as a matter for consideration.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to do it. So
Yeah, looks good.
with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna
Okay,
have to
motion
like
carries.
set up with a bookcase behind me next time. You guys look so, so smart. I have just curtains.
And I'm always,
Put a picture of a bookcase behind you, Mary Lou.
I could.
Did I ever tell you that story? Somebody got me a book for Christmas. And I said, I already have one of these.
Uh,
All right. Good night, guys.
Have a
Thank you,
good night.